Hi, this is Anita Hummel from the Dusty Roads podcast about living life as a global citizen. I spent over 30 years of my life living and working in mainly Asia. So if you're looking for some inside information about what it means to be a global citizen, you are in the right place. Hi, this is Anita from Dusty Roads, and this is episode 6. Today we're going to talk a little bit about traveling by China's high-speed trains, or how to survive China's high-speed train travel. I mean, these high-speed trains are magnificent. If you travel to China, chances are you will end up at some time during your travel on a high-speed train. You can reach every major city by high-speed trains. And in fact, many times a high-speed train is easier than flying. But with most things in China, it's not easy, and you have to understand how to navigate your way around these high-speed trains, especially if you don't speak or read Chinese, or if you don't have someone who is going to be helping you. There are 3 basic types of high-speed trains in China. I believe there's a 4th one coming now. But these high-speed trains will go anywhere from 271 miles per hour to 350 kilometers per hour. Some will go a little slower, about 75 miles per hour, and some will go 155 miles per hour. But still, no matter what, these trains are going pretty fast. You know, China is now beginning to lay down more tracks and add more routes. In fact, my apartment in China is right next to a high-speed train rail. And when it first came in, I thought, oh, this is going to be so noisy. You know, it's not that far from my bedroom window, and if the train's going all the time, I can tell you, I can hardly hear that train at all. Those high-speed trains are so smooth and so quiet that you can hardly hear them at all, or hardly even know that they're going past. You don't even realize it if you're living next to a high-speed train rail. It's not like the regular trains where you can hear them and you can feel them and you know that they're coming. These high-speed trains are extremely smooth and go very fast. You almost just sort of hear this shoo, and that's it. It's done. You know, China has plans to build about 23,600 more miles, or 38,000 kilometers of high-speed tracks by 2025. These networks of tracks will travel from the north to the south to the east to the west. The idea is that any city which has a population over 500,000 will have access to a high-speed train. And if you know anything about China, you know that 500,000 people is not a very big city there. So this will be able to help to benefit a lot of people there. The high-speed travel is so popular because the tickets for many of these high-speed trains is really, really inexpensive. And it can be just slightly higher than a regular train fare. It can be half the cost of a plane. Some tickets are even cheaper than if you go by the subway or the underground system. And then, of course, you're traveling much faster at these breakneck speeds. To give you some perspective, a train from Beijing to Xi'an, which is about the same distance from New York to Chicago, takes 4.5 hours on the high-speed train, compared to 11 hours on the regular Chinese train system. So you could see how it is about 1/3 of the time compared to the regular train. This also shows why many people are choosing to fly or choosing to travel. This also shows why many people are choosing to travel by high-speed train. You know, if there was a train between New York and Chicago and I need to go to New York, I'd probably take the train, because by the time you get to the airport and you get through all of the things you need to get through there now and all the security checks and all of that, you know, it's already going to be 2 hours by the time you fly there, you get off the plane. It would be about the same, or maybe even be faster, to take the high-speed train. When we take the high-speed train in China, we only need to be there 20 minutes ahead of time. And then you basically get on the train. And so getting off and on the train is very easy. A few things you need to remember. If you're going to buy a ticket, it's not so easy to buy a ticket. You need to bring your passport. Even in China, if the Chinese are traveling, they must show their ID card to get on a high-speed train. So even if you're going locally, like up to the next town, you must bring your passport in order to get onto the train. There's a couple ways you can do it. You go to the station, and you can wait in line like everyone else, and you can buy the ticket. I speak some Chinese, and I found that this can usually be a little bit difficult. It can be hard to understand the people through the glass, and can just be very difficult. You can go to a ticket outlet around China that will sell you a ticket. You can try to buy online. There's some sites like 12306.cn. There's also an official hotline that you can call. You can try to purchase from an agent, or you can ask for help from a Chinese friend. All of these are, it's really not that easy to be able to always buy a high-speed train. And one of the other problems is that in China, the high-speed trains are on sale usually about 28 days before you want to travel. So if you're looking to travel 6 months from now, you need to wait until you're closer to that travel date to actually get a ticket. And for some of the trains, it can really fill up really fast. Like if you decide I want to travel tomorrow to this route, you might not be able to get the ticket that you need. It really depends a lot upon where you are within the high-speed train. If you're kind of in the middle of their route, of a long distance route where many people are traveling, it might be harder. If you're near the end, it really depends upon where you are there too. So if you're on a tight schedule, you might want to handle this all ahead of time before you go to China. There's also some travel agents you can check out. Most of them seem to charge between $5 to $7. I have a blog that I can send you to here that you can find out about, get some of the information there. Some of them is eTrip, trip.com, chinatours.net. Some of them seem to also be able to sell tickets, and especially if you're looking for one of the more popular sites, then this might be the way for you to go. If you can afford it, I would get the first class or business ticket, especially for longer travel. I have been in all coaches of these Chinese high-speed trains. I can tell you, sometimes the regular coach, I'm miserable. And it may only be like a 30-minute train ride. And, I'm stuck in the middle seat. I've got someone who's throwing their hair on me or eating next to me or whatever it is. And it can just be kind of a little bit of a miserable trip. Many trains also have these first class seats, which are better. The clientele's a little better up there. And it's just a more comfortable way to travel by the high-speed train, especially if you're going to go 4 or 5 hours on the train. I would definitely try to get a first class or business class seat. The business class is usually the better seat of these, and they're wider, and you'll just be more comfortable, especially for longer journeys. Be aware that the trains are crowded, meaning that usually every single seat is taken. I don't think I haven't been on a high-speed train in China where every seat was not taken. There can even be people standing on the trains, and I have had to do that, where we've taken a journey, we bought the ticket too late, we were on the standing only, and we had to find some place to kind of sit and squat or try to go to the restaurant car and see if you could find a seat or if someone could feel sorry for you and give you a seat. I've even seen some people bring plastic stools on, and they'll sit on a plastic stool because they're standing room only. I once had to travel 3 hours on a standing only trip, and we were lucky enough after an hour of standing to finally get one seat for 2 people in the dining car. It was an uncomfortable journey, and it was a tough journey, and it was crowded because, if you're buying the standing only, then there could be another 50 or 60 people buying the standing only, and we're all trying to go to the same car, which is the dining car, to find a seat. Just be aware that during China's major holidays, train tickets will be very tough to get, and during those periods of time, you will be lucky if you get a seat, and number 2, the trains will just be crowded. There will be people everywhere, and the stations will be extremely crowded. And those times would be basically essentially the Chinese Lunar New Year, which happens according to the Lunar New Year calendar, but was usually in January or February of each year. The Labor Day, which is around the 1st of May or the first week of May. And the National Day, which is the first week of October. So if you can at all avoid those times to travel on China's high-speed trains, I would. You will need to go through a security procedure, but it's really not that difficult. But a few things to remember is no dangerous weapons. And they could consider, if you buy a sword or a knife as a gift or a souvenir, as a dangerous weapon, and they will not allow it on. Explosive, compressed gas, flammable liquids. Basically the main things that you would find: no live animals, anything that smells bad. If you have something that smells bad, they may not let it on, and anything that can interrupt the train signal. So if you're carrying like too many technical or mobile devices, the security could maybe stop them. The trains could also limit things in your luggage, such as nail polish, hair dye that they could consider flammable, matches, cigarette lighters, aerosol sprays. So just be aware that they will limit some stuff. You just take a water bottle in. You can take some juice. The Chinese are taking all their little tea bottles in, which is not a problem. They can restrict your luggage too by the size. And believe me, if you're traveling by high-speed train, you don't want to have a lot of big luggage, because most of the train stations, and this is really the crazy part for me about these high-speed train stations, is they might have an escalator, but maybe the only escalator is going down, so you got to carry your luggage up these flights of stairs. There might be an elevator, but the elevator may not be working. So you could end up having to carry your luggage all up and down stairs, because really, depending upon the station, they may or may not have an elevator. They may or may not have an escalator. Or if they have it, it might be going the wrong direction. So just be aware that if you're traveling by high-speed train, do not bring a lot of luggage, because you'll be miserable in trying to get it up and down some of those high-speed train stairs. You could bring a wheelchair, even though, China itself is not that wheelchair accessible, or they don't seem to think much about those kind of things yet. There's not that many laws for that. And, so that's basically my main tips for it. Like it's also not easy to find your train on the track, because they'll have a number and it will be written in Chinese what the color is. So what I do a lot of times, if I'm traveling by myself and I'm not really sure, I might, just kind of ask somebody and show them my ticket. Can you kind of tell me where to go? And then they'll tell you where you need to go. And usually, for my luck, I'm usually way down at the other end of the station. So I'm usually walking a mile to get to my where I need to go to load onto the train, and then walking a mile when I get off. A couple things about train etiquette is, wait behind the lines. They're very particular about that. At the glass doors, if there's a line up with everyone else. Wait for the people to depart off the train first. Have your ticket ready, and don't lose your ticket, because you're going to need your ticket to get out of the train. And absolutely no smoking's allowed on the train. So if you're going to go to China, do go by the high-speed train. It is an adventure, and it's amazing to be able to go at these fast speeds, and you'd be surprised how smooth and fast you're able to go. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast, and we have written a blog on this called 7 Tips to Travel by China's High-Speed Train System. You can find that on our blog, abusonadastyroad.com. If you've enjoyed our podcast, please give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, share it, and tell others about it. We'd really appreciate that. Everything helps. Thank you so much. This podcast is sponsored by A Bus on a Dusty Road, a blog about living life as a global citizen. Please go to our blog at abusonadastyroad.com and sign up for our free newsletter. If you've enjoyed this podcast, give us a thumbs up. Leave us a review and help to pass this along. Thank you so much for listening.